Amazing. And tell us what you do at the Milwaukee Bucks now.
Yeah, so I oversee all your foundational business units. So think about ticketing, marketing. Our G League team reports up under me, corporate social responsibility, business strategy and analytics, tech and innovation. I'm sure I'm missing, but essentially think about everything on the business side
Yeah.
that makes a team run that reports up through me. And I've been doing it for 2.5 years, and it's an amazing experience.
And your official title?
Executive Vice President of Business Operations.
There we go. That's what I wanted to get to, because the podcast is so much about inspiring people, especially minority groups, to pursue their passions and like just continue to work hard. So you went from making minimum wage, and yes, you worked your butt off. You worked for a long time, but you got to, a EVP position with one of the best NBA teams, and one of the best basketball teams in the world. So that is so incredibly inspiring to see you do that. And now, I don't want to jump the gun, Alex, but doing all that as a minority, as a member of the LGBTQ community, what sort of specific challenges did you see, and how have you seen the challenges maybe ease up a little bit? Because I'm sure when you started, that was a different world than now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, challenges. I'm not sure we have enough time in this conversation to talk about the challenges, but I'll hit on a couple, which kind of led me to writing this book. The first piece was being myself, the challenge of coming into, again, and I came up through a really, I won't say strict, but religious household. And I leave Alabama, go to Miami, and Miami was awesome. Like the exposure I had to, all kind of things was great. But during that time, I was trying to find who I was. Like I was in my first professional job, and I'm wearing the professional outfit, right? Like the blouse and the heels and all the things. And it was a challenge. And I'll say this is the first one that really made me feel like I got to figure out who I really want to be. Now, I didn't immediately say, oh, this is how I want to be, because I don't want to be that. But the journey started there because I was uncomfortable. I didn't want to pretend to be someone that I wasn't, especially as I was starting to get through leadership. When you're leading a team, you quickly understand that you can't paint everybody with a broad brush. They're all different people. They all bring different skills to the table. And if I'm not clear in who I am and how I want to be and present myself at work, how can I be the leader that they need me to be authentically? So the first challenge was really trying to understand who I was, not only internally and who I wanted to present myself to be at work, but also what kind of leader I wanted to be. And that was a big challenge. It took me years, quite frankly, to really come to terms. I was in the closet when I was at the Florida Panthers, like all the way, like in the back corner behind like your winter clothes closet. And it was uncomfortable. The moment I got to Pittsburgh, I felt, and I talk about this in the book too, I was outed by someone, but it turned out to be the best thing for me, which I would never recommend outing someone. So let that be the message here. But it turned out to be the spark that I needed to really embrace who I was and say, okay, and you'll hear me say this often in any interview, any conversation I have, I do believe that my uniqueness is my superpower. And I try to tell everybody who will listen, especially those who are in marginalized communities, to be like, you have to figure out what makes you the thing that they need, or the thing that the company needs, such that you can tap into that and really hone into that, especially when other challenges come your way. So that first challenge was just really trying to understand who I was, because if I wasn't careful, I felt like the industry or corporate America was going to tell me who I needed to be.
Right. And I imagine as growing up in a Christian, I'm assuming Christian household,
Christian.
I'm Christian as well, Orthodox Christian, so I know what it can be like. Was that difficult coming out to that community as well, and your parents, or?
Oh yeah, very difficult. The first time I tried to do it, I wrote everything down because, again, type A. I want to control everything that I say because I don't want it to just be like, hey, mom, I'm gay. I wrote it and I read it to my mom sitting on my couch in my apartment. And when I looked up, tears, like there were so many tears. I don't even think she could come up with words. And in that moment, yeah, I was hurt, but I think being a true Leo, not wanting to disappoint my mom, my first thing was to console my mom. Like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You know, she didn't say much. She got in the car and she drove. She just said, "I love you," and drove away. That being said, that moment pushed me back in the closet. And it wasn't until I met my now wife, and I realized just how much her and my mom are alike, that I felt like, okay, I'm no longer wanting to hide. I think here's an opportunity for my then girlfriend to meet my mom, and maybe there'll be some type of kinship because they'll see how close and similar they are. And this was probably 4 or 5 years later from my original coming out. When they met each other, I don't know what happened. And I haven't really talked to my mom about what happened in those 4 or 5 years for her to come to terms with the fact that that I was gay. But it was beautiful. Like, they met each other, they embraced, and now they talk on the phone all the time when I'm not in the room, like when I'm not around. So they have the best relationship.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, no, I'm super
and I
blessed.
imagine, you know, because I'm an actor as well, so I always try to like put myself in other people's shoes. But I imagine, you know, some of those tears might have been, you know, from a mom's perspective, like guilt that she didn't know herself, or that, you know, she didn't know earlier, didn't make you feel comfortable enough to tell her earlier. Like, I'm sure it wasn't all like pushing you away. It was just inner stuff too.
Yeah, no question, not a question. Because my mom, if you ever meet her, I call her a saint because she is so giving. And she thinks about others so much. I also equate it to, you know, she's seeing her daughter, who is, you know, a Black woman trying to climb the ladder, trying to find her way in the world. And she's thinking, oh my gosh, she's now got this other tag on her. It's going to be that much more challenging. And I think she was probably just thinking, like, oh, you want to add another burden. You want to add another thing for people to have to try to understand about you. So I think there was some of that too, but I absolutely, it was a moment that we worked through together, and today we have the best relationship. She honestly is my best friend.
Thanks for watching this clip from Growth Untold, the podcast. If you enjoyed this clip right here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. And if you want to listen to the whole episode, follow the Growth Untold page wherever you listen to podcasts.